Game Jam meeting, the 2025 Game Jam is on with Epic. So, in a few minutes, team members will be joining us to get an idea for the game. So, we got to start from somewhere. So, we will, yeah, see if we can come up with an idea to get started. So, all right. Hey, Granddad, how are you?
Hello?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yep.
I think Greg is in voice in Discord.
Yeah, I gave it a little thought and I looked at stuff and nothing comes jumping to mind.
Well, yeah, that's probably gonna happen. It's like when they did the food thing. I had nothing come to mind for 4 days, and then I saw all the stuff everybody made and said, "Why couldn't I think of any of that?"
Yep.
It's hard to get the initial idea going at first. It
Yep.
takes a little bit of time.
Well, it's going to be after something that, I mean, the thing that jumps out to me is, something like Groundhog Day, right? I'm sure everybody thinks of that, the movie where, you know,
Oh, there's Rag.
your
All
day
right.
always starts. But
There I am.
Hello there. He,
Hello.
he's sorted there.
I'm here. I'm here.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Can you hear
There
me
we go.
now?
There we go. Hello,
So,
camera.
this is probably the toughest part of any game jam. The initial idea. It doesn't mean it's the final idea, but just something, something to start with, something to think about. Um, I said in my note, I think the idea is we just throw some things against the wall, and considering we all have things to do tonight, we get back in the morning and say, this really gelled with me or this didn't, and then we kind of try to start nailing something down in the morning. Um,
It's good
so I
strategy.
think the bottom line is when we're doing this, we should be thinking like anything goes. Just, you know,
Yeah.
even if we abandon it, just throwing ideas so we're all hearing them and seeing them,
All
and
right.
then trying to see where we can land tomorrow. Because
All right.
even if you're doing this individually, you probably should, have a breather
Yep.
after
I
your
agree.
initial ideas.
Sounds like a plan. All right. You
So,
start, Ari.
well, my initial thought probably was very similar to Granddad's. I kind of like the idea of something that's got a time shifting kind of mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
I remember some of my favorite games were games like where you're playing the same game in two different periods at a time. I remember it was like at an old factory and the modern factory and the story kind of interplayed. Now, I don't want to recreate that because that's complex, but that's the kind of mechanic I'm talking about. Where I do something in the future, but I have the possibility to go back and change the past because the past made me do something in the future, and some way to have some fun with that crazy mechanic. I don't know quite what it would look like, as far as an actual play. I know Granddad threw around the idea of detective. That's kind of something where that would fit. I don't know. It can be some kind of quest, and the quest keeps changing because every time we go in the past to fix something, we mess up the quest in the future. Where we're just mucking around with time, and the game might have this sense of repeating, but it's a different repeat, and that's kind of where the idea of here we go again,
Yeah.
but not quite the same thing. So,
Yeah.
at a very abstract level, that was my initial thought when they announced the theme. That's kind of what came to my mind. I don't know
Like a
what came to your heads. So,
groundhog movie day. Yeah. Um.
yeah.
All right, Granddad, your turn.
No, I don't. Yeah, I thought about it and I asked AI obviously about it and it didn't come up on anything great. I mean, let me get to the Chat GPT and tell you what it said. I mean, it said the same sort of thing, and I looked at it in the mall and I said, "Gee, that's going to be hard to do." Mostly, I mean, that's a problem. The problem that we have is we have so little time. So
Yeah.
we can't do anything very,
Yeah.
very hard. Man,
Simple is good.
simple is good.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't oversimplify initially.
Yeah.
Go with something that can be simplified. One of the biggest advice that anyone will give us in a game jam is scope, shorter and shorter. Pick and choose your poison. You can't do them all. But if you scope too sharp, too quick, you're gonna end up with not a mechanic that anybody could use. So we gotta be careful. We want to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves, but we want something that we can actually scope down. That's not so absolute you can't scope it down, or the idea it doesn't exist.
Here's the things that came up with. It says you relive or time loop adventure where you relive the same 60 seconds over and over, trying to change the outcome. That's kind of what you're saying, right? I mean,
Right.
you just keep going back. So it's Groundhog Day, sort of. And each loop reveals something new. Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing. That's kind of the idea of what do it again, whatever the thing is. It is. What did I say? Called Here We Go Again. Is you want to go relive the same experience. So you're. I mean, that's a key thing to it, right? Is it starts over. The game has to start over multiple times, and you have to find some way of pushing through and winning. That. So they, you could do it with puzzles, or, but I don't know how fast we could build a puzzle. That's hard, relatively hard stuff to do. Or we could fight. I mean, none of these just jumped out to me and said, "Gee, I want to go do this."
Yeah.
Because I kind of puzzle. We could do puzzles. And we could have puzzles to do a countdown clock. But what would the puzzles be?
Well, I think before we figure out what the thing is, puzzle or this or that, I think we have to think of as the theme of where do you start from the theme? Again, like what Ari was saying, alternative future or repeating something or time shift mechanism. What I was thinking of is something like a birthday that comes around again and again, or an orbit that comes around and again. Here we go again. A trip around the sun, like a year. Here we go again. That type of thing, or it could be you're on a record player, so the needle goes around and round, and you're on the record player, and you have to each time you can choose a different track. You get a different music or something, stuff that goes around and around. I guess is what I was thinking of in the back of my cranium.
Yeah.
There's lots of possibilities there. I think about that show where that lady dies every time and someone kills her, and she goes back and starts her day over again.
Yep.
There's there was one case where they were repeating a scene repeatedly, where they were invaded by people, and that they kind of started to remember what they did before, because they kind of, from the first time, left clues somehow. There's lots of things we could do. I don't know if we have to lock in the mechanic per se, but what's kind of an interesting idea are ways we can play with those ideas.
Yeah, it's hard to, like I say, it's coming up with the theme. I tell you, we can either try to come up with a great game theme, which it seems to be hard, or we can just come up with what we think would be cool, as a setting.
Yeah, well,
which might be the cooler way to do it, and then just
be great to combine those two, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
Well, that's why I think it's a good
You want to
strategy
combine 'em.
just to throw out some stuff right now. Anything that comes to your brain, and write it down, and then we'll get together first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Or relatively tomorrow morning, first thing. And just say, okay, let's go here and start a map.
Then the question is, would be there any of those modifier kinds of things? To me, it's not important if we win or not. So, I mean, but is there anything that we would just want to do just to put us in to win a little bit? Because most of the, except unless you win the biggies, none of those modifiers really have a big giant prize. It's usually, 3 months free of their service or something. It's something like that.
Yeah.
So
No,
what?
the only reason I'd use a modifier is if it fed our concept. If it was good for a concept. So.
Yeah, that's gonna be the key. I don't think you want to shoot for a modifier. You want to see where you fit in a modifier. If you don't fit in a modifier, you just don't apply. Or if you partially fit in 2 or 3, we apply for 2 or 3. That's no harm in that.
So, here we are again. Here we go again.
Yes, this is the hard one, isn't it?
Well, maybe we have a game about deciding what the game is. It's like we'll just have three of us talking heads saying, okay, well, the theme is here we go again, and make a game out of that.
Making a game about making a game again.
Yeah. Here we. Here we go again.
I thought the same thing. I thought that you'd open in a room that would be the game jam, would have the game jam web screen thing in it, and it's like you say, it's the 3 player or the 3 people. Or the question is, we're not making. It's easier to make a video versus a game of it. But the thing is, you say, I'm going to compete in this game jam, and we do it again and lose. And then you go back in and start over, and you go do it again.
I kind of like that.
Lose and don't, and it's like, but the question would be, what would we do? What would be the mechanics of what you're doing? I like the theme kind of thing.
I think the concept is good. We just got to figure out what scenario fits it best. Like you originally thought of a detective solving a crime or not solving a crime, or maybe we have an explorer who's trying to find their way from the entrance of a tomb to the prize inside the tomb, and you make a mistake and you run out of oxygen. You make a mistake and you flip a lever and end up locking yourself in and drowning yourself. Here we go again. We made a mistake.
Yeah, it almost always is going to be puzzles of some types or things that you have to do. Like the and I'm trying to think. Making choices. You make choices. I just, I'm having a hard time. You make choices. The only thing I think like making choices is like, you play, or we played that Fortnite game where you ran through the with Moggs and Bluebell and whoever, and we would run through, and it would have you guess music, what was the music artist or something. You'd run through it, and you'd get a point or not, and it would set you back to the beginning if you didn't get it right. You'd run through the wrong gate and it would plop you back at the beginning, and then you'd run through, and stuff like that. So we could build a puzzle like that would keep track of things. So I mean, we could build that. I mean, we could almost build that game, right? I mean, that would be a game where you're running through things, and you've got like, who knows, 5 tries, right? And then it just pops you back to the beginning if you run out of the 5 choices.
Right, and one of the possibilities for like something that happened in the past can impact the future. It's not just the knowledge that you gain, but maybe you picked up a bottle of water and somehow you kept it.
Yeah.
Maybe you ran out of a way to light something, and you picked this run or run 2 back. You picked up something to light something. That kind of thing. Or if you use the resource but you never try to find it again, the next time through, oh shoot, we're gonna die.
Yeah, you know the we've never done mechanics of a shooter game, so we don't know what it would take to go. You could do the thing where I mean, that's the obvious one, right? Is you go from room to room and something can kill you, and then if you get killed, you get set back and have to do it again. But the question, like you said, that doesn't gain you anything. Whenever you try to defeat a boss in a game, right? It's the same kind of concept. Is you learn something during the fighting with it that you try to exploit the next time you go in that room.
Right. You learn
something different. Yeah.
You learn how they attack,
Yeah.
and you look at your defenses and offensive moves, and you do it a little bit differently
Yeah,
the
you do it a
next
little bit
time
different.
around.
Yeah, but that's a lot of hard mechanics to try to put into a game and make work. You know what I'm saying, in a week. So I don't know how.
I don't even think it's a mechanics per se. Well, if it's a first-person shooter mechanic or it's a gathering mechanic, it's how you implement the story, how you implement the progression. It might be that you just have shooting, and that shooting might be used multiple times. Gathering might be used multiple times. Questing might be used multiple times. But how does the story glue together? That would be where most of the effort is. Once you got your shooter mechanic down, once you got your gathering mechanic down, you got to build the system underneath so that we can start building out a lot of interesting story, and introduce some predictability, and introduce some randomness. Because here's the thing: you don't want this to be a pure memory game. You want there to be some randomness. You want there to be some of that tension. You need to have progression. So it's kind of trying to find a balance there. So that may end up being, you may get the shooting mechanic down in a day and spend 3 or 4 days working on a good story once you got a mechanism to tie it together. I mean, if that's the direction we go, that's kind of what I would be thinking, is pick a mechanic that, we're not trying to figure out how to do a first-person shooter from scratch. We may not be trying to figure out how to do a gathering game from scratch. We look at other things, use it, because our game is what we put together. Our game is the interactions we put together, and how they twist and turn, and how there's some degree of predictability that every game needs, yet there's some degree of variability which makes it interesting and fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and it's hard to come up with the plot. I mean, that's the hardest thing for us to come up with here. I think in the the other thing is, do we, last time I pushed towards music stuff because I wanted to do music stuff, and that's just what I was interested in doing. I mean, we could look at what would be interesting. Is there anything like we could look at instead of trying to come up with the plot like just out of with nothing, maybe we could decide which mechanics we're most interested in writing a game using. For example, like we could say, let's make this game, because we've never made a game like this, let's make it very character heavy, or very, what I'm saying, the character's the main part, and maybe we have dialogue, because we've not really ever done dialogue. Saying if that's it, then the game is more of a, you embed the game logic in conversations between characters, and we learn something we learn something by doing that about characters and building characters and making the mouths move.
Yeah, well, you want to learn
if
something.
nothing else, if we end up, not even finishing the game, we've spent the week, exploring character creation and making them talk and having dialogue trees and and that type of thing.
I think, yeah, I agree. I'm just sketching out in my mind a mechanism, and again I keep going back to the circle. So, and I think here, I don't know if I can do this here. So, no, you won't be able to see that. So
use
let's say
your Wacom tablet that you've won from playing.
Yes, well, I have a Wacom tablet. I got to figure out how to integrate it into this program Riverside.
Yeah,
so,
see what I have several drawing apps, and what I do, like you've seen me do videos using it. What I'll do is I'll have the app in one of my windows, and then I'll share it. So if you have a drawing app,
Oh, hold on here. Yeah, wait a minute.
if
Wait a
you have a
minute. You're
drawing
right.
app,
You're right. You're right. You're
sketch
right.
it.
So, well, I have to plug this thing in. I'm not ready right now, but hold on. Yeah, I don't even remember. I've got a.
But yeah, that'll
But
work.
yeah.
I do that all the time.
But
I
anyhow,
use
let's say one of the things I'm thinking of is, and we can incorporate really anything you want into this model. So the model is so you have let's say an elevator. It just sits there, and then the elevator's on this record or a platter or something that goes round and round. The elevator stays there. The record, you're on the record, and it goes around. So let's say the first thing you do is go in the elevator, and it goes up, and the door opens, and you're on kind of the same platter, but it's like the sky is blue, or it's a blue
It's
scene.
just a little different.
It's a little different, and you
right.
goes around, comes up. Okay, so it's green, and then maybe we start adding music. So the music is a certain tone. You go around, it changes. It's a different tone, or a different song, or a different tune, and maybe even become, as this thing goes up and up and up, and you go around, you become a different character. So you can get it. You're a dinosaur, you're a human, you're a male, female, whatever. You're a cat, dog, and you just and it's kind of just something that goes on and on. Here we go again. It doesn't really have a plot. It's just kind of a mechanic, and I think if we start working on something like that, we may even come up with a game. I mean, we may have something may occur to us saying, "Wait a minute, you go doing all this stuff. It's really doesn't. It's not meant to do anything except here we go again and be almost monotonous." But I think if we can start that, it may develop into something. Hey, wait a minute,
Right.
okay, so you go around. It's simple. That the thing
Simple's good,
simple is
especially
great.
when you have a
And-
week.
But changing this, changing that, what does it all mean? Here we go again. The theme, ultimately, does it end? Maybe not. Ultimately, do we make it a random thing? Do we control, what the path is? I don't know.
Well, if you build a mechanic like that, I mean, again, there's something even something similar. That just it's a repeating mechanic. We can kind of add that story to it, and whether it's dialogue changes,
Yeah.
whether it's
And-
environmental changes, then we can evolve the story. Then we can evolve because there has to be some form of tension. If it just happens, there's no tension. Not a game. It's an experience, but no game. Have to have a little tension. But maybe what that tension should be, where you start and you're looking towards some kind of end. Then using the same mechanic, we just start changing what happens each time to move people toward that mechanic.
Yeah. So maybe
Or
what?
you're heading in the wrong direction, taking you away from that where you're wanting it to go.
Yeah.
know?
Maybe when you get in the elevator, you have choices. You could say, okay, so
It's like the time
Blue.
machine, really.
Yeah. Do you want to go blue, yellow, red, or you want to go male, female, cat, dog, or again, sounds, music. Do you want rock or reggae? Things that change every time you get out of the elevator. It's the same scene, but it's got that added little element, and maybe it just all builds up into some crazy thing, and then you have to go back in time to start, find your way back.
Yeah, the recurring back in time thing. The classic one of that is the sun going. I'm saying so you see that today, and then boom, and you end up you're back in your bed or whatever. I mean that
Right.
always be the
But it's
thing.
but it's a little different.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
that's the trick.
that's
And
the thing.
something you decided the last time had an impact on that. It's like the movie where a person where terrorists were breaking into a person's house. The story always progressed further down because you somehow left clues to yourself as to what was happening, so you got through it, you got further through it, and you still had a challenge, but you that's with a little bit of pre-knowledge, you know how to get by it. And sometimes the story went off a totally different direction. You were headed this way, but then you headed this way the next time around because of what you did, and that's where the story for the game comes in. But if we got a good mechanic that gives us the flexibility to do something like that, an interesting mechanic that lets us do that. Like in that movie, it's the person wakes up back in their bed after they were killed. That was the change point. They died, and when they died, back in the bed, somehow could remembering bits and pieces of what they did before, and the whole story evolved into the person. Like the person who he was with started as one thing. In the end, they turned out to be one of the people who were attacking. And it's just interesting twists that make for gameplay. Like, I chose this and whoa! I didn't expect that. What a surprise!
Yep.
As long as the mechanic is easy enough to use, then you could just focus on writing some interesting twists into it. And then you're focusing a lot on making it a fun experience, making it a fun game.
Yeah, and obviously it has to be fun for us. So I think having kind of an open-ended fill in this rounds thing is fun. So it's like
right.
Whatever that is.
I mean,
so I think that's a good start. I think that's a good start. I think
Yeah.
that's a great start. So it's simple, it's circular, or it's again it's repetitive. Whether it's a trip around the sun, whether it's day to night. We just have to think about that. And is it a bed? Do you end up in bed, or is it your room? Is it your chair?
Or just in a room with a door. You know what I'm
Room
saying?
and a door, or that. I like the idea of the elevator where you go in and the door closes. So okay, and then you make your next choice, and the thing goes bing, the door opens, and it's you go around the same scene. You've made your choice, and you could see your choice happening in that orbit or in that cycle, and you're back at the elevator. And
and the scope of something like that, the scope of that mechanic is certainly within that weak boundary we have, so that we could focus on making the mechanic won't be a killer. We can spend time making your choices have interesting consequences.
Yeah. So, again, the first thing that comes to my mind as simple is you're in basically a cylinder. That we can texture the walls and the floor and the ceiling, or a sphere it could even be.
You're in a maze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll just dig out that maze. We won't tell anybody. We haven't released
we'll just
anything.
dig a big pit in the backyard.
No,
You're volunteering?
put that maze. You'll be in there. You'll never get out. Yeah. So here we go again.
We'll just put a lock on the door. You're stuck. Game over.
Yeah, doors. There we go. Doors. Yeah, millions of doors. Just one door after another that you program, Granddad, and the access will be slightly off, so it's going to drive you nuts. Not you. I mean the person playing the game. Drive them nuts to get the access right. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be a nightmare.
You gotta have a door somewhere. Can't have a game without a door.
That's because like that's kind of funny. Like Beats Quest, just talking about that, or what we built last time was really the genesis of Beats Quest, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it was basically you ran through things to start beats, and the quest was always to find to find the right beat block. Or the next beat block, and we gave them clues. I mean, it was a perfect. I mean, it's a quest game.
But that mechanic exists in all games. Really,
Exactly.
a lot of
Exactly.
games.
It
Yeah,
does.
I mean that's. But what if we're trying to give like this time-based theme
Yeah.
where depending on what you did, what you connected with, and again, whatever we got to decide what mechanics we have to have and what we would like to have, because maybe it's just the simplest is just running into triggers. That's essentially the simplest.
Yes.
But being able to pick up and carry inventory may be a secondary one. Um, Making choices and those choices stay with you. So that's still, in a sense, an inventory. Because at some point you chose blue. And by choosing blue, this changes what happens when that door is open.
Yeah.
But I think
Which is
it's a good
which
mechanic.
is really a dialogue type tree.
And
But it's not
dialogue could be the
dialogue.
mechanic.
It's an
Could
action.
be.
It's a mechanic action tree that says if you go this way, this happens. If you go this way, that happens. Yeah. I so we would start. Let's say if it's the elevator, just because we could do like I say, and you go down or so that assumes the elevator um, kind of means that you have levels, right? I mean that's the whole idea. I mean that says you first floor, second floor, third floor, so you progress through those levels. Now when you go in, like you say, the simplest thing to do is trigger something. Is to run through a trigger. I mean, either run through a trigger or shoot something.
Right.
If certainly if we're in Fortnite, that's the easiest way to do it.
Or you could make a decision. You could mouse over,
Yeah.
a choice.
We could certainly give them the ability to take their mouse and click something. Interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, the interaction is the hardest part to me. Is the hardest part of doing any kind of game. I mean, it just there's just nothing. It's at least the interactions we've proven that's been the hardest thing for us to get right, or for me to get to work, because you have to have some kind of logic behind it, controlling it that says, hey, you got this, that means you can go do that. But yeah, so do we make it? Here's the thing I worry about. It is not worry about I like the idea of, like I said, just for something different, character dialogue kind of stuff. But whether we would do that or not, but the simplest thing to do is runner type game. That's what we've done. Whether our Fortnite games are really basically endless runners, where you run through, targets, and that furthers your, quest. So we know how to do that.
Right, and that's just with one path. Most endless runners, there's only one way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you could still now endless runners do have cases where if you ran by some ammunition and didn't get it, you're going to pay for it later on down the road.
Yeah.
There can still be consequences. So
Yeah.
a secondary level is that even though you've got a fixed path, if you didn't do this the last time back there, if you didn't get some ammunition and you're going to run into something, that something's going to kill you. Yeah.
Well,
So there is an additional layers to that can be done. And again, that may be the simplest case, or the other case where is you come to a bend in the road. Do you go left or do you go right? A little more complicated then. But it would still could be a runner. And your choice would be, if I go to the left, I'm going to walk through the trigger over there. I walk to the right, I'm going to go through the trigger over there.
yeah.
But now everything that's on the right, if I go left, I don't have access to it because I went that way, not that way.
And that would be the thing about that. I mean, the idea that I remember repetitive game is you go back and do the repetitive game, and it's pretty much the same way the first game is, except like you say, if you go through door number 2, it changes what's going to be behind. What you can do next.
Right.
I mean, so it's like
Trying to
dialogue,
put a little
like
little story twists into choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a creative thing.
And-
There's no mechanic for that. That's the creative part behind the mechanic.
'Cause
The
you'd
idea
have to-
is yeah. So if we can come up with a small set of mechanics that give us the option to create different types of scenarios and stories, that will optimally allow us to get this thing done in time. Because we can focus on the story behind door number 1 and door number 2. Did you take a look at that picture? Because that picture had a clue. Yes or no, if you did or didn't. And that's kind of like gathering, because we'll keep track of whether they looked at the picture or not. You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, I think I like how far we've come in this past half hour, though. I think we're pretty much settled on this general theme of repetition on a simple scene with variations. I think
You know, I like the idea of a elevator. I'm just throwing out ideas.
I like the elevator too, because I'm thinking not only could you go up in an elevator in levels, but you can go down.
Yeah.
So maybe going up is going into the future, going down is going back into the past. Maybe we even work that in as a decision mechanism.
Here's a mechanic. So the way the floor works, let's say it's just a platter, a circular platter with an elevator. I don't know if there's a wall or not, but there's just an elevator and a platter. And when you're in the elevator and you push the button, it goes, let's say, up to your next level. What it actually does in the game mechanic is copies the last scene, puts it into the next level with all that was intact in that first scene, and adds the element that you've selected in the elevator at that time. And it goes on and on that way. But if you want, you could also go back and discover what you've been creating. So in the game itself, no two games are the same depending on your choices.
Right.
And we could add variety, a kind of a randomness factor in there. But anyhow, something that in the game itself is it creates the environment. And you can, and it kind of sets that as the scenes, and you can then at the end or whenever you want go up or down and experience what you've seen. While again, you could add to the future, or maybe you.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to.
So maybe we go up with new choices, but I want to go back down to and track a new future. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that concept with the elevator works really well.
All right, let's do it then. All right, so it's gonna go elevator, round and round.
I don't get the round and the round bit though. I mean,
just
goes
here we
Well,
go again. It's just
the round and round is the scene being replayed.
So
when you get out of the elevator,
yeah,
you're walking into a scene, and it's the same scene. We're doing the same scene over, but a little bit different.
So for 30 seconds or a minute, that thing happens. So if it's, let's say, a yellow.
Clock. So there's a countdown clock.
A countdown clock. Let's say that. Yeah, sure. So
gotta put a little pressure on the player, just a little
maybe if
bit.
it's a color, the color pulses a little bit. You've got to figure out something more interesting, or maybe the different things in the room changes to the color you want, and it does it over 45 seconds or a minute, and then you're either forced back in the elevator or you're bored and you go back in the elevator. Your choice, I guess. And then select another color, or select another furniture, or again what we talked about before.
Maybe if somehow you're
tune.
defeated in that level, you have to go back to the elevator, and you might have to replay that level, or you can go down, but you can't go up because you didn't win.
And
Maybe.
What do you need to do to win?
That's the thing is, what is the winning game mechanic when I open the elevator door? We're gonna have to figure out what that winning that level mechanic is.
That's right.
And then what are the consequences when I win a level? After I go out of the elevator door, and what are the consequences when I fail?
Yeah.
Like maybe I can only go up if I win. I can either go back in to the same level, maybe with a slightly different decision, or I can go down a level. and create a whole new future. That's kind of how I like. I like this. I like the feel of that idea in the game.
Like the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. He experienced the same death every day. No matter what he did, he's gonna die. He realizes
Yeah.
he's gonna die every day, and he does all this different stuff until one day he discovers the new thing that he should have discovered all along, which was, I think it was love or something, or trust, whatever. I don't remember exactly how.
He learned
And
how to
then the
play
whole
piano.
thing. What's that?
He learned how to play piano.
Well, there you
There
go.
you go. There you go. There's the there's
So-
the music. There's the music.
So again, maybe here, unless you do on each level, unless you do the one thing you're supposed to do, you have 45 seconds to figure it out, or even less, whatever it is. You die and go back to the beginning. But if you live, boom, you're in the elevator again. You get to make another choice and go
Well,
on. So
Yeah, that's sort of like the Simon game, right? I mean, the Simon game, so you get, and that's a simple memorization thing, like I already talked about, where it goes red, green, the different colors. Then you have to repeat the things. Now, I don't say this is a game, but I mean it's the whole idea that you have to do these steps in the right order, and then you're rewarded and go to the next quest. I mean, that's almost all quests are kind of that way. Now the question is, what would those quests be, on each level, and how do you
Right.
tie them together into a story? And then you also thought about, you could go back down an elevator because you missed something, but yeah, I'm just not sure.
yeah,
I'm not,
I'm not either.
I
I
think
like-
the issue is, what did they do in the room? How
What did
we've
they
got
do?
one. It has to be fun and interesting, but it has to be doable, and it has to fit the choices we give them in the elevator. That might be our mechanic that gets you into the levels. I think we got a good idea. That gives us the idea of leveling up into the future, retrying the same thing over again, or going back into the past. You could go all the way back down to the beginning and start from the beginning, because I don't like how this played out at all. I'm going to go back down to the first floor and do the first floor, second floor, third floor, fifth floor all over again. Because I didn't like the choices I made. I don't know. But that's kind of a mechanic that would fit anything. The idea is that we define what happens when you win a level, when you lose a level, and what your choices are. Like I say, if you win a level, you could do the level over again. You can go up, you can go down. If you lose a level, you can go do that room again, or go down. But the interesting thing would be is, what can we do with one scene? And that's the tricky part, because we don't have time. We can't create separate scenes for each one. We have to do something where we got one scene that's big enough, but not too big, but it's got enough. Maybe it's got a couple of small rooms off it or something like that. It's got enough. Say, I'm on the first floor, I need to do this over there. Second floor, the second level, I need to do this over there. On the third level, I need to do this over there, and make it interesting enough, and somehow make what you do in the first level dependent. The second level is dependent on what you do in the first level. What you do in the third level is dependent on what you do in the second level. And again, making that interesting, so that there is this idea of progression, there is this idea of tension, and again, like there might be 2 or 3 things you could do on each level, and whatever you do on that level determines what you can do on the next level. Again, we got to try to come up with something interesting enough but doable in the week time frame. Now, that's why I'm saying it has to be the same level, just out of practicality. What we would focus on is this dependency between level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and as many levels as we can make. If we only get 3 levels because we run out of time, at least we got 3 levels of gameplay. That's good enough for a game jam.
Yep.
You're not trying to build a AAA game with 20 levels. If we get a good mechanic between maybe 3 levels, where you have multiple choices on each level, that might be enough. And then we may find we get in the flow, we got good ideas, Maybe we get to 4th level. Maybe we get to a 5th level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that then means that if you got maybe 2 or 3 choices, maybe you expand it to a 3rd choice or a 4th choice or 5th choice. And now all of a sudden, the game is repeatable, but you could change the way the game plays based on the choices you made. In the same game, you could get to the 3rd level. I don't like where this is going. I can't figure out what to do next. So I'm just go down to the 1st level and try again. And again, the elevator mechanism still works the same, no matter what's in the room. So we're going to have the elevator mechanism that just says, what was the result of your time in the room? And then we have to come up with a mechanism where the room is big enough, but not too big, that we can have level 1 of the room, level 2 of the room, level 3 of the room, level 4, and whatever time permits. And if we try to go for a 5th level or a 4th level and run out of time, we just skip level. We just chunk it out and say, you get in the if you win that level, you get in the elevator, you have a choice. Do you want to call the game won, or do you want to go back and play again? Play it a little bit differently. And that's kind of maybe our nice, here we go again, game mechanic. And I think that can be interesting.
Yeah, the here we go again puts you back in an elevator, right? I mean, what are the simple mechanics you can do in a room? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you can run through stuff. You know, you could do, you know, all those popular games where they, you know, hide the cats in the pictures. You know what I'm talking about, or those game mechanics that everybody seems to buy.
Could, like say, run into stuff, shoot stuff. I don't know, those are kind of the 2 biggies, actually. As far as simple mechanics go, run into stuff and shoot stuff are probably the easiest.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could sort of have a 3rd which says find stuff, but that's still running into stuff to find it.
Yeah.
That's shooting at something to kill it and get the point or whatever it is you're supposed to be getting. Or if you kill something you weren't supposed to kill and you die, well, I guess maybe I shouldn't have shot that box. I don't know. Or maybe I should have gone down that hall. If I run into a trigger that says, you lose.
Yeah.
You didn't win the level. You just died.
One fragment of gameplay I'm just playing with in my mind is, so each level you have to complete the phrase, whatever it is. So let's say you have a sequence of colors or a sequence of notes. Your choice is to insert the right note or the right color or the right whatever it is
in the right sequence. That's how Simon works, right? I mean,
I'm not familiar with Simon, so
well, Simon was like a little round game. It was an actual physical game you interacted with, and what happens is it plays like a note. It plays a little tune like do 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 do, and for each note it turned on a color, and so it would play it for you and go do 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 do, and different colors would come on. And then it would be your turn, and you had to do them in the same order at the same time.
Yeah, so something like that. Yeah.
And if you did that, you would win, and then you go, and it would get progressively harder with more notes in it, you know, as time would go on. And so
all right. So like if you win the level, you get to go to a 2nd level, and maybe the 2nd level looks a little different than the 2nd level looked. Maybe there's multiple ways to win. I don't know. Maybe you could do 2 things to win.
We can incorporate what you did on the previous level in the new level, but you have to do it's a new thing. So you have to.
Right. It's got to be something new that you have to do on the next level. Yeah.
So Simon was how long ago?
It's 1970s.
I mean,
it was very early, 1980. Coleco, I think, was the company that did it.
That helps our theme also. Here we go again. Because a lot of people in the chat of this presentation were saying, oh, yeah, let's go back to, you know, the 8-bit game or whatever.
Well, and I'll throw this out here. In a different approach, and it's Guitar Hero. You know, in Guitar Hero, where you've got the neck of the guitar going down, and the notes come down the the strings, and you have to hit them in the order, and you have to, you have to physically do them in time. It's the same sort of idea that that it's a it's kind of a memory game. So I mean, in that case, it's more reaction. It's looking up front and being able to be twitch fast. So, I don't know, something like that. And I did it in Fortnite. In Fortnite, I had both the Guitar Hero and the drum thing. I had basically drums set up where the drums, there would be a drum that would go boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the different drums would do in an order, and then you would have to shoot those drums at the same beat to be able to, to be able to win it. But I don't know. That's a question about it. Is the question as we look here, there's kind of two ways to, or there's probably 50 ways to approach it. But do we do something that's mentally challenging? A puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Or do we do something that's simple, just like running through gates, collecting beats, doing?
I say both.
Okay.
So we start out simple, get that working, see how much time we have left, and for us to say, okay, let's do this next. Depending on how long it takes us to get the simple.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, a couple levels, really simple puzzles. And if our mechanic is working well and our room is working well and we're really moving along well and we got plenty of time, we could start creating more complex tasks at higher levels. And that way we end up with a minimum viable product. You need to end up with a game. Even if it's super simple, we need to end up with a game. But if we can't get past the really simple thing, 1 or 2 levels, we're never going to get more complex. You got to run into things, you got to gather things, all that kind of stuff. You'll never get to that point in the game because we haven't got the elevator and the idea of levels being interactive, interrelated.
Well,
So I think we start simple. I think we start really simple because it may come down to the scope of the game just, it's great if we can do all these things, right?
mhm.
And we might think, and we're going to shoot for that maybe, but we need to start simple so that if the clock starts running out, this is where it's going to have to be. It may be a great idea to make a better game or a more expanded game later on, but for now, the clock is ticking, and we got 3 or 4 levels with just really simple stuff, and we want to do more, but we can't. And the idea is that if the game works well with the elevator, and the levels interaction with the elevator works, and just the overall play of the game, the idea of going up and down, once that's refined, our border as to how complex the game gets and how additionally interesting the game gets is going to be how much time we have left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, building an environment is going to take, and mechanics for the environment, even as simple as we just described, will take a certain
Right,
amount of time.
it's going to take some time. The elevator mechanic,
Yeah.
all of that's going to take some time too.
Yeah, and so the thing we're saying, we have a clock that's possibly a countdown, but if they get into a floor, certainly we could done the beat quest thing is where they run along and they start a beat. You know what I'm saying? And so but the only thing with beat quest, we had no countdown clock. They just you would just progress through that until you died, until you fell into the volcano.
Right.
I mean, so that was probably the weakness of that as a game, and the thing that pushed you along as a game is just you were trying to get to the next quest to get it done, and you were being scored on it. But so that's the key thing on the floor. What do? We have to have some kind of puzzle. I mean, we
have to have
understand.
some kind of way to play the level.
Yeah,
I think that what it comes
yeah.
down to, from a design perspective,
Yeah.
is we need to nail down what the play in the level will be.
Yep.
And we want to design that play in the level so that if I play this in this level, it impacts the play in this level. So it's not, And it's keeping it as simple as possible because we've got to now keep that link between play at level 1, play at level 2. Like I say, it might be as simple as you do a 3-beat puzzle. We start with a 3-beat, now you're going to do a 5-beat puzzle. Now you're going to do a 6-beat puzzle. You can't do the 5-beat puzzle until you've done the 3-beat puzzle. Maybe. That's linkage. That's just an example, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. We have to at least have that to start. And then we say, well, that's not interesting enough. Well, can we come up with another one to add to it? And I'm not saying get rid of our simple puzzle. We should keep our simple puzzle. So we have MVP, minimal viable product. What is an additional component we could add to a level to make it more interesting? Do we add it to the levels where we have the simple mechanic? Or do we add it to additional levels on top of it? That's going to be a decision we make based on how much time we have. By that time, we should have the elevator and our game flow logic completely working. We should have the interaction between the level and the elevator completely working. And we should have at least 2 to 3 levels using a simpler gameplay working. Then the doors open. How much time do we have left? What do we do with the levels we have? Do we expand them or do we add to the number of levels? I think that's the direction we need to go as far as designing this is concerned.
And I'll throw out an idea then along the same line. In terms of you open the door opens, and only because we've just done this, and it was a challenge. Let's say they're all some kind of maze. Just assume it's a maze. You know what I'm saying? And so you walk in and it says drum beat or something, or just something, whatever the first thing is. And you walk through the maze and you find that, and like I say, in the maze you've got 4 objects. Let's just say drum, bass, guitar, whatever they don't have to be musical either. The fact, but those 4 objects are in the game all the time in the maze somewhere. But you run through and there says find a drum beat, and so if you're running through the maze and you're given so much time to find the drum beat, you know what I'm saying, and all 4 of the things are are visible, and you find the drum beat, and then it says find the bass beat, and then you run around and you find the bass beat, and then you have so much time, then say find the guitar beat, and you run around and find the guitar beat, and if you can't get it between the clock down things, it sticks you back in the elevator and you start over, but you remember
where things
where the things were.
That's the idea of replaying the level. Yeah, like I said, we give them a choice: replay or go back down and build your skills.
Yeah. And the rebuild the skills could give you some, maybe how fast you can go.
Maybe you get more speed. Maybe you get more visibility. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe the trigger's more sensitive. Somehow you have to. One of the key things about the game is you always have to have the player feel like, by doing this simple level, I've been empowered to do this level. And this level's easier because I did this level. If you don't do that, people are gonna like, they're not, they're gonna say, the second level's the same as the third, the second and the third and the fourth, and I gain nothing and it's the same, I'm done playing. We don't want that. You want them to play each level. So there has to be a reward for playing that level, because now you're empowered to get to the second level.
And the simple things for the levels could be, let's say the first level you walk in isn't much of a maze. It's got a wall, partial wall, and it says drum, and you've got so many seconds, and you had to run around the wall and find it there. So then it says bass, and you just have to run around the wall to the other side. It's real simple. And then
training the player.
Yeah, then the second level you go into the elevator has got a more complex maze. You know what I'm saying? It's got, and they don't have to be mazes. You know what I'm saying? Like they could be hotel rooms. You know what I'm saying? They could be,
as long as it's an environment that we could just make easy changes to so that our scene environment is pliable and flexible. Yeah. Like, you wouldn't want to create one that's a Taj Mahal and the next one that looks like a Gothic other thing. Totally,
Well, just we
totally
don't have enough
something.
time to build on.
We don't have time for something like that.
Yeah.
So it has to be something with familiarity, but simple enough to build, so that we could focus on the playing part, because that's really the important part. The playing part,
Yeah.
what you do in the room, what you do in the level. But yeah, I mean, you start simple, like you said. You start, maybe the first level or two might be training. The second and third level might be empowering you. You might get maybe one of the levels has a door that's got a key. Well, you better have done the level down below that gave you the key, right?
Yeah.
And it might take you a time or two to figure out, there was a key down there, wasn't there? Ah, and that's 2 levels down. Maybe I have to go back and get the key.
Yeah, I like
And by
the
getting the key, maybe they get something else.
I like the idea that let's say level 1 for the whole game is a series of 5 episodes of 5 cycles of solving problems, and at the final, when you have the final solution, the whole room lights up and you win. You win that level.
It's a lot like Beats Quest was, right?
Yeah,
Once you
yeah.
got all
And so you
5
go
beats,
back into the elevator,
there's a
and
celebration.
you go back in the elevator, and you come on to either something brand new or the same scene with a new element or something like that.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a slightly different feel, or a slightly different something that says it changed. You're going to do something different, but
Yeah.
your play mechanisms, you can apply what you learned in lower levels to play this new level.
So it's modular in that approach, and that would mean the game mechanics are modular, which is great for us because let's say we only have time to do one level. That's great. At least we have a beginning, a game, and then an end, and so
Right. And basically, we can build as many levels to whatever
Yeah,
complexity we want with how much time. We're always going to have an MVP, a minimal viable product that shows how our game works, how our gameplay works. And again, in a week, you're not going to get a game you play for 5 hours. It's just not going to happen.
no, but we'll have accomplished something in a week. That's all we have to do.
Right.
That's our goal.
I like the idea. I think we've got something we can work with, and
All right.
and depending on what roadblocks we run into, I think we can make adjustments and not lose the ball game, so to speak.
All right, so I suggest sleeping on this now. However, so I think we should talk a little bit about how we're gonna work this now. So who's gonna start the map? How do we do this? I mean, do we do it just like we've been doing with Beats Quest? Build something and everybody can go in and look at it, or what? Is that what we're gonna do?
Well, I recommend that, at least initially, we just kind of throw out some ideas of what people think the level should look like, and then we kind of pick the base and go from there. We should share the project. I don't want to do it like we did last time. Granddad, you held the project,
Yep.
and as a result, anything we did, you had to implement. Can't do it that way.
No,
You don't have that time. You don't have that time.
Yeah, we have software. that does
If I have something to add to the level, I go into the game and I add it to level. Bragg has something to add, he goes into the game and adds it. If you have to modify something in mine, you go into the game and modify it. That's where version control does all the work for us. If maybe we add something and it breaks our game, we decided the team, boy, it would have been nice if that worked. It didn't. We're going to back down to this level. Version control. It's going to let us keep this thing under control. It's going to make sure we have a working game every day. At the end of the day, I'm going to build out the game as if it's ready to be submitted, even if it doesn't do much, because I intend to be well practiced on that, and make sure it builds okay, that it plays okay, get the zip files in the right format. Anything we've added to the game that's a source asset, make sure it's in the list. Not going to figure out the list afterward. As we add assets, we're going to add it to the list. I'm going to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a playable game, we have something that's ready to submit it. And if Friday if if the last day just blows up in our face, we might submit the game we created up to the point the day before.
Mhm.
That's where I want to be as far as working things.
And we're using
But-
diversion, right?
And we're using diversion. It's going to be just like what we do with Fortnite. Any one of us can go into Fortnite and do something.
So we're going to do it in just kind of the baseline here. We're going to do it in Unreal Engine, not in Fortnite, right? So, and then the
I thought that was the original thought. You didn't want to do it in Fortnite, but
yeah. I mean, if we're doing Fortnite, we would just, you know, I don't
the
want to
thing
do it
is,
in Fortnite.
the thing with Fortnite is we're going to deal with a lot of Unreal Engines. I mean, Fortnite's limitations.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. We may be looking at some mechanics that I don't know if Fortnite's going to let us do them easily or not. I don't know, but it's kind of like you can do it in Fortnite, but it's going to look like you might not be doing anything custom. And here's the thing about Fortnite: if you got to do something custom, you know this yourself, Granddad. The minute you take something that's like a building block in Fortnite and have to make a change to it, not so easy.
No, I think that I think it's really easy to get something up and working in Fortnite. But we would probably do it faster in Fortnite. But let's try it on Unreal Engines, because I don't even, quite honestly, right off the top of my bat or off of my head, I don't even know how to trigger something. I don't remember even how to trigger something in Unreal Engine. So
I got to figure it out too. I don't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is that let's assume that the game, or we'll make some more assumptions here, but
let's also mull it over in our head overnight.
Yeah.
You know, we're not locked in. There are pros and cons to go with Unreal Engine. We're gonna have the total flexibility as far as how to do something. In all honesty, don't recreate the egg. Go out and get a template that does exactly what we need. Figure out how they did it and copy it. You know what I'm saying?
Now, if we do Unreal, we're going with 5.6.
Yeah.
We would go with 5.6. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So if we'd have a character, and the character is going to be in an elevator, and so we're going to have to build an elevator, right? And a door will open. So I'll volunteer to do the door. And then,
Of course.
Well, with Fortnite, it's just clicking the door
Nobody
to
else to
open
do
it
the
and
door,
locking and unlocking it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to do a little bit more in Unreal Engine, but I can tell you, Granddad, as far as videos, as far as examples of how to do a
I
door
know.
go, I mean, you could just spend 10 minutes looking at a video and you have a Fortnite door, okay? And
Well,
you don't even
I've
have
still
to think
got-
about it.
remember, I did the whole game in 4.2.7, so those kind of mechanics I've done a number of times. So the question is, but I'd have to go back and look at old code. But the thought process, so for me, because what I'll do probably is write the game play code for some of it anyway. And I don't know if we'll split floors or whatever, but the thought is we're going to get into a floor, the door is going to open, you're going to walk through, and somehow they have to accomplish goals. And the easiest way that we think that we know how to do probably is collisions or triggers.
Collision triggers,
characters.
yes.
Yep. So it's not going to be a big UMG multiple choice, thing that has to be built. So they're going to walk through things, and that's how they will capture them. And then what they'll do is there'll be some kind of game. There'll probably have to be. Well, so that's a process. So that'll be the first thing to build, is just the mechanics that run through triggers, and it says you've run through these triggers. And the second thing to do would be, we decided that we want to have some kind of time, something that they have to do it in a certain amount of time, right? Or in a certain order.
Yeah. One of
Yeah,
those,
so
or
maybe
combination of.
there's a trigger
Yeah.
just outside the elevator door
Yeah.
that starts a timer, and each trigger you hit, keeps track of
So
whether you've hit them, and if you had to
Yeah.
hit them in a certain order, it keeps track of that too. But again,
So-
that could all be done with the trigger mechanic.
right, and so that means I'll have to have a countdown clock, which we've done before. But so that'll probably be done through a widget, a UMG. So up in the corner there'll be something. It's going to be something where you move around the room you know, you'll always see in a HUD. It'll be in a HUD.
You want that's going to
So
be
there-
gameplay feedback. Yeah.
So there'll
the
be a
timer.
HUD, and the HUD will probably. The question is, I think that logically, there'll probably have to be. There could probably be clues, right? I mean, in terms of the fact is that it'll say, "Go get a drum," or it'll be something, and it doesn't have
Some
to
way
be.
to communicate information.
Which one you need to go next? What's your something to tell you what your next goal is. You know what I'm saying in terms of capturing it. So I have to write that part of the UI, and then you run through that, and it does something, and it probably it will it gets the next clue. So it's going to work a lot like Beat Blocks does because. We're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, Beats Blocks
No,
is a copy
that's
of every
just
game, every
that's
Quest game there's ever been. So
right. We
Yeah.
just use what works. We don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Right. So what I'll do, like I say, we could do that real quick but I'm not. We're not going to do anything more complicated than when you go through there. There'll be if I was going to go build something, you know what I'm saying, I would just be setting up triggers, and as you do triggers, it updates a UI and keeps track. And then there's some kind of game manager that's keeping track that you've gone through level
Right.
one. you've
Some
gone through
kind
level
of
two.
data tracker. Yeah.
And then what those triggers are and what they do.
That's where
We can come up with a story. It doesn't have to be
That's
music.
exactly right.
It
We
doesn't
build
have
the
to be-
mechanics we need. We
Yeah.
build the mechanics we need,
Yeah.
and then we build story on top of it. Because without the mechanics, we can't do the story.
Yep. It could be, you need to go capture a pig. And you run in and go get a. It could be things like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be a. You could go shoot down an airplane. I love the airplane. The balloon mechanics work much better than the
Oh,
airplanes.
good. That's good. Nice stationary balloon.
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah, that works fine.
Yeah.
Although I want to improve some of the stuff in there, but not a lot. I need to. I got the mechanics working, which were harder than I thought, just as usual. Because the thing about that was, 3 of the balloons wouldn't work that you chose. I mean, 3 of the, so they were made it's different code because they're as part of the rocket racing thing. So I don't
yeah.
know why they didn't work, but you couldn't destroy them. You could, but if I put one from the other ones, it would, you could destroy it. And it had the same exact settings, and they're both Fortnite. That's the thing that's frustrating about Fortnite is there's so much you can't look at. It's their code, and it's
Right.
executable code, and
Yeah.
you don't know how it works.
And you have
even
no
though-
idea what's what there. They
What's
just
what,
threw all
yeah.
that shit in there and
Yeah.
inventory and said,
Yeah.
hey, some work, some doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't know.
You'd think,
Again,
well, it would work the
that's
same.
the pro and con of UEFN over Unreal
Yeah.
Engine.
Yep.
You could use something that's pre-built like that and plug together a game real nice and easy. But you want to do something unique. If you want to change something, as we've seen, there's a ton of effort just to do that little thing. We don't have tons of time to fix one little thing. It's that's a disadvantage. The disadvantage to Unreal Engine is to do the simple little thing. You've got to figure out how to do the simple little thing right and make sure it's good and solid. Once you do, you're in good shape. And since you wrote it, since you put it together, if you need to modify it, you know it. You know how
Oh,
to
yeah.
change it.
Yeah, I much prefer doing stuff in Unreal Engine, but plus also I can't even get UEFN to run this computer anymore. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing.
that wouldn't work too well for us, I don't think.
No, so yeah, let's go ahead, and that gives me some ideas if I want to just
Alrighty.
fiddle around with code. Is I would write that thing in the first day, that basic baseline, and then we
Right.
could come up with
Right.
ideas of the way you capture beats is, or the way you not beats. I'm sorry, the way you
Well, basically, you're going to write a mechanism that says when we hit a trigger, we signal an event that they did something,
that a
and then
task
and
is
a way to
finished,
keep
yes.
and a way to keep keep track of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll be the gameplay. Then we need to think of, like I say, clever ways to make those levels different. That it always maybe is not walking through something.
Right.
Because I can change the way the trigger happens too. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a trigger. It could even be
If we want to do custom triggers,
Yep.
since we wrote the triggers, we can do that.
Yep.
We can say you can. I mean, this is just for example. Let's say, one of the triggers is you have to hit the trigger, but you got to stay inside the trigger for 10 seconds. Maybe that's somehow we communicate you have to go into this space and do this for a few seconds. But they go into this space of the exit. Why didn't it give it to me? You didn't stay there long enough. Again, we tried to do something like that in Fortnite, we're screwed. You know? But in our own game, we can take these simple triggers and say, this is a timed trigger where you have to be in the trigger for X amount of time. Or they might have another trigger that says, you got to go into that room, which the whole thing is a trigger. You got to do what you got to do, which might be another trigger, and you got to get back out in 5 seconds or you're dead. Again, that's the power we get with building things up. A simple trigger to bed more complex and more complex. And then we could use these more complex triggers in the story arc of some kind.
Yeah, and like we say, we could start out simple with a big room with just wall. You know, we have to decide what that's, you know, from a design.
I have a question on that. Is there any game asset that you've downloaded that, I mean, is there anything, should we just decide to build that, or is there anything we could use?
We maybe to get started, if just look around things, maybe we just come up, if there's something that's just out there, just so we can get started.
Here's what I'd suggest. If we're going to use an asset, let's use one of the Kit Bash or some of the Kit Bash assets, since that gives us a leg up on one of the modifiers. You know, we'd say,
or one of the free Epic ones.
Now you've
something light. I do want it to be light though. That's
you
what
two
I do
have downloaded all the Kit
Bash.
Yeah,
I've downloaded all the assets and stuff. So I mean, there wasn't that many. So I've got. Here's what we've got for the Kit Bash assets. I've got like 8 models, and the models are buildings, and they're cyberpunky kind of. I mean, we can go through them real quick, but there's like 8 models, and then I downloaded 3 sets that weren't part of the. But the fact that they belong to Kit Bash probably counts it. You know, I mean, in their mind.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be one of those 8 assets, but maybe it does. But they were more, you know, I don't even remember what they were right off hand. Let me look real quick, just so I can see.
Yeah, I think just the idea of let's select some standard assets. Think of it as like putting just plain blocks out there. But in this case, we may not have time to create the assets the way we want. So we start with something and say, this is a placeholder. We'll build around it. We'll find something that's similar to what we're looking for, in case we have to stay with it.
Yep.
And as far as like, just they said using their assets. You know what they were looking for? Use it in a creative and new and innovative way. That means we might modify it a little bit. We might change the lighting a little bit. We may tweak their assets a little bit, and we qualify for that perk.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we may say that's what we would like to have if we had time to make a scene. Well, we want to have a scene to play our game in because we got to create, like, say, the mechanics of the play. So,
one of the things was the size, right? There's a size limit?
Got to be within one gigabyte when it's zipped. The zipped version has to fit in 1 gigabyte.
So we may want to keep this as simple as possible to start with. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right. So again, if we're gonna pick,
I'm seeing a cylinder. I mean, just starting as a cylinder as the room. You know, just a round cylinder.
That might be our first. That might be our best pick for the first
polygons.
day. Yeah. Well, you know, we probably don't want to add a whole ton of complex assets until we've talked about what we want the look and feel. So maybe for day 1, the level is really, really simple.
It's a floor.
And during that day, one of our objectives is going to be looking at what's available in templates, what's available in you know, from Kit Bash, and figuring that out. So that day 2 we bring in those assets, but we can still build the gameplay within that simple cube, and we'll replace that simple cylinder, and we'll just replace the simple cylinder with something that looks nicer.
Yeah.
I think we need to get started. We need to be able to have the play area, and we're going to have a simple elevator.
Yeah.
Again, they don't have to be complex. We maybe find a nice kit for the elevator just so we have something till we make something of our own. I don't know.
Yep. What time you want to start tomorrow?
I am pretty flexible, so
Yeah, me too. I mean, do you want to just meet it in like an hour
I-
before we normally do? So
I'm good with an
11
hour
o'clock your
before.
time?
Yeah.
11 o'clock then, or
Yeah.
okay, that's great. All right.
It'd be 10 o'clock, right? And
Let me
yeah, and
just set that.
yeah, like I say, my plan would be, I'm going to, if I even get in and do anything tomorrow beforehand, it would just be to say, just to remind myself how to trigger something.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna get into before the meeting, get into Unreal and get my bearings because it's been.
Yeah. One thing we may need to do is we need to get you into diversion. We need to get you set up on diversion.
I thought I was.
Are you? No. Did you actually clone it? You have the account. We need to get you to clone.
Well, I don't know what that even means. So
Yeah.
hold
We
on,
need to
hold
get you
on,
through
right.
that.
Hold on, I've got it. I have it open.
No, I'm talking about Unreal Engine. In Unreal Engine, we need to have you clone the repository and be able to open it in Unreal Engine.
Okay, I have not done
Yeah,
that.
you're
so-
all set. You're all set as far as the account. So all we have to do is and I've already added you to the team. So as a member, so what you have
Yeah.
to do is clone the repository into a local file on your hard drive, and then be able to. You probably need to start up the plugin, and then you're ready to do the Fortnite-like thing, like we always did with that
So-
repository.
So
we
I'm
need to make sure
basically
you're set up for
working in
that.
Windows Explorer but what do I clone? What do I copy?
Well, from the window, you're gonna if you go into Diversion desktop app, you're gonna see the Game Jam repo. Then there's the
I
ability to
just
clone
saw
it.
that. I just
Right,
saw that.
and you're gonna clone that, and you're gonna clone that to a local set of files on your computer, and then when you go to open it, you'll be able to activate the Diversion
Alright, so
plugin.
hold on. I right before you go, because I got about 9 minutes here. I'm gonna share my
Yeah,
screen.
me too. I'm going to go
Shit.
to a grandson's orchestral hour and
There
a
we go.
half marvelous junior high
There you go.
symphony.
There you go. All right. Well, here you go. I'm
Don't snore too loud. You'll
Alright,
give
so-
yourself away.
So do you see me here? On
Yep.
Game Jam. Yes or no?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna clone this repo. I'm gonna.
Right.
And what do I do now, though? Open the desktop app to get a local
Right. It's
copy of
basically
this.
telling you that when you open the desktop app, it's going to tell you how to clone that.
I thought I had the desktop app, but I guess I don't. So.
Okay, so you're gonna need to download the desktop app and log in, and then when you saw that clone, there's this like little scripting command. That's what you're gonna when you're in the desktop app, you're gonna do that, and what it's gonna do is walk you through the process of taking the clone of the Game Jam and bringing it to your local hard drive. Then when you open that, it'll be just like you opening an island in Fortnite.
But you
Hold
got to
on.
get this downloaded, and then this is
It's
where I
already
had all the-
downloaded. It says it's already done it. So hold on. I gotta.
You
it's-
gotta start the desktop app.
Oh, fuck me. Diversion desktop.
I know
right?
Granddad's all set up. You actually got your local clone, right, Granddad?
Yes.
Okay, I've got the version open. I believe the desktop app. Okay, so I don't think
So
you're
do
seeing that.
you need to click on
Click the clone repo.
Hit the
Yeah,
clone
there we
repo.
go. Okay, I see that. And so clone repository, and I can select where it goes, right?
right?
So I'm gonna
You
go
choose
to
it.
my-
That's your choice.
I'm going to my D drive. Do I need to? Do I have to create a folder for it?
I usually do, but that's your choice.
All right,
It's gonna
so-
be a whole folder by itself anyway.
Okay, so I'm not gonna do that for now. I could change that later. All right, so I'm just gonna say clone into my D drive. All right, so I've done it.
So at that point, when you open that Unreal Engine project, you may have to go into plugins and make sure that the diversion plugin is active. Restart, and then at the bottom of the project, you'll see something that says start your source control. You'll pick diversion, and you'll be good to go.
And that's in Unreal, right?
That's in
Yes.
Unreal. Right.
Okay.
At this
Alright.
point, you're going to do everything else in Unreal. You're going to go to you're going to open the Unreal project that you just cloned. You're going to make sure the version plugin is active. It'll restart, and then you will be able to go to the bottom screen where we have source control. Pick the version as the source control source. Click on it. You should be good to go.
All right. I'll seek your advice also tomorrow to remind me of what I need to do.
Because that way we all have access to the cloud version,
Got it.
and we all have our individual version. And as you make changes, I make changes, and Granddad makes changes, source control is at work.
Aye, aye. All right. Well, onward and upward.
Sounds
Here
All
we
good.
right.
go. Boldly
We made
into the
we
future.
made good progress for the first day.
I
Yeah.
know, but your
Yeah.
characters like
We
us
realized
get-
our
get-
limitations. So that was a
Yeah,
progress.
there we go. All right. Hopefully,
All right,
this
well-
successfully streamed to YouTube and my channel.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, sweet dreams. Have a good dream about this project.